What if your memories never existed? A shocking theory upending our understanding of consciousness, memory, and identity. Is your cherished childhood memory merely a trick? Are those moments that bring you to tears upon recall or empower you to continue your journey truly real? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, where were those memories before I thought of them just now? Were they dormant in some corner of my brain? Or did I create them just now, at the very moment of retrieval? We comfortably operate under the assumption that our memories are stored within our brains, much like a computer saves files. But what if that isn't true at all? Scientists are flipping the script. The brain doesn't store memories. No, this isn't a plot from a science fiction novel. This is a genuine theory being debated today among neuroscientists and philosophers. The brain does not store memories. Rather, it reconstructs them from scratch every single time we remember. It's as if the mind doesn't possess a storage unit, but instead owns a construction workshop. And every time you try to remember, your brain invents the past. It doesn't retrieve it. Do you realize what this means? Every moment you recall might not be an exact match to what actually happened. It could be a distorted, modified version imprinted with your current emotions, not with its past reality. Memory as organized deception. If memories are freshly manufactured each time, can we truly trust them? Furthermore, can we even trust that we truly exist? The identity we perceive as coherent might just be a repetitive illusion, which we reweave day after day to convince ourselves that we were and remain the same person. I remember, therefore I was. But what if this act of remembering is an invention, not a proof? Are we connecting to a greater consciousness? In an even stranger development, some scientists and philosophers have begun to propose a crazier idea. Perhaps memory isn't stored in the brain at all. Perhaps your brain doesn't possess it, but rather accesses it, like a web browser connects to the internet. Imagine that your consciousness isn't confined to your skull, but is an antenna picking up signals from a cosmic storehouse, from a broader, vaster consciousness that we don't see, but within which we exist.
This changes everything. If your memory isn't something preserved, but rather a creative act, then you possess immense power. You can rewrite the past as you wish. You can free yourself from trauma whose validity you no longer trust. You can reshape who you are, because what you remember about yourself isn't an etched line, but a story you are writing right now. Memories are not mirrors of the past, but rather windows to what you choose to believe about yourself. Are you still certain that the past is preserved within you? Or have you begun to suspect that everything you thought were memories might simply be a brilliant fabrication by your mind designed to give you meaning? Was memory as we knew it, the brain's library, just a comforting myth? For many decades, we learned that the brain resembled a vast library with neatly arranged shelves, meticulously cataloging every moment of our lives, one after another. A happy experience? Stored. A sad memory? Indexed. The end of a relationship, a childhood laugh, or even the face of someone you met at a train station 10 years ago? According to traditional theory, all of it was preserved somewhere inside your brain, simply waiting for you to request it to return to you. The traditional model, a three-step machine. This conventional model described memory as a precise three-stage process. 1. Encoding. When you experience something, your brain translates it into electrochemical signals. These signals travel through neural networks like a secret code. 2. Storage. These codes settle into specific locations. The most well-known are the hippocampus, responsible for short-term memories, and the cerebral cortex, where long-term memories are archived. 3. Retrieval. When you remember, you simply open the correct file, reactivating the same neural pathways. This makes you feel as though you are reliving the moment all over again. But is this just a convenient scientific legend? Despite its elegance, this theory has begun to show cracks. Cases of memory loss, distorted memories, and the shifting emotions associated with the same event over time have led scientists to question, is memory truly stored? Or are we, without realizing it, deceiving ourselves every time we say, "I remember"? If memory is capable of being swapped, altered, partially forgotten, or even entirely fabricated, then perhaps it was never stored as we had assumed. Perhaps it was something else entirely.
Memory isn't stored, it's created anew. When remembering becomes an act of creation, not mere retrieval. We grew up with the idea that memories are preserved within us, like photographs in an album or files in a mental cabinet. But what if that cabinet is empty? And what if every time you remember something, you're not opening a file, but rather reinventing it? This is what a new theory suggests, one that's more exciting and perhaps more terrifying. 1. Memories as living actions, not dead files. Recent studies in neuroscience have proven that remembering isn't a retrieval process, but a reconstruction. Every time you recall a moment from the past, your brain assembles its fragments, reinterprets them, and perhaps even modifies them. It's not a saved image. It's a painting redrawn anew each time, with the brushstrokes of current emotions and present circumstances. Your memory doesn't tell you the truth, it tells you what you want to believe right now. 2. The brain as a prediction machine, not a recording device. At the heart of this shocking theory lies a deeper idea. The brain doesn't preserve the past, it predicts it. This is the predictive brain theory, which posits that the mind isn't concerned with precise details, but with building an approximate model of the world to help it survive. When you remember, you're actually performing a mental simulation. You're not watching an old recording, but rather reenacting the event, like a film director reshooting a scene using an old script, new actors, and different conditions. And here's the secret. Remembering equals imagining the past, not retrieving it. 3. Memories outside the skull? Quantum consciousness theory ignites debate. But even more audacious is what theories in the physics of consciousness have proposed, such as orchestrated objective reduction, ORC-AR, developed by physicist Roger Penrose. This theory hypothesizes that consciousness itself is a quantum phenomenon, occurring within microscopic microtubules in nerve cells and connecting to a broader quantum structure outside the brain. Yes, you heard that right. Memory might not be in your mind at all. Instead, it could reside in a universal field of consciousness that our brains receive, much like antennas pick up signals. If this is true, we don't own our memories, we maintain connection to them. Therefore, forgetting equals a disruption in the signal. Remembering, resynchronization with the broadcast. Have we lost control or gained new freedom? If your memory isn't fixed but constantly recreated, then who are you? Are you what you remember or what you choose to re-remember? This theory doesn't destroy the concept of identity, it liberates it. You are not a prisoner of your past moments. Instead, you are the storyteller who rewrites their narrative anew with every remembrance and every forgetting. When myth becomes a scientific experiment, real evidence reinforces the theory that memory isn't what we think. Even the most audacious theories can find port once we step into the laboratory of the mind. What seemed like fantasy yesterday is now being recorded, measured, and tested in prestigious universities and research centers. And here, the upheaval begins. Experiment. Memories that never happened, but the brain insists they're real. In startling experiments, psychologists have successfully implanted false memories into the minds of volunteers. Simply put, individuals were convinced they had been lost in a shopping mall as children, or that they had ridden a hot air balloon with their family, even though these events never occurred. The result? They believed the story. What's more, they added new details from their own imagination, faces, emotions, weather, even smells. These experiments silence anyone who thought memory was a preserved videotape. Instead, they prove it's as programmable and modifiable as any digital software. Or perhaps it's not a program at all, but an interactive dream we reenact whenever we want to remember. Hypnosis. Memories returning from nowhere. Patients with hippocampal damage typically lose the ability to recall their past. But the surprising fact is that some of them, under hypnosis, began to retrieve their lost memories. How? From where? When the brain is technically unable to access them. Does memory exist outside the realm of the organic brain? Are we opening a channel to another level of consciousness when we lull the mind's logical guardian? This phenomenon raises a terrifying question. Are our memories truly within us, or are we accessing them from a greater network? Déjà vu, the memory that precedes the event. One of the most perplexing phenomenon. You feel like you've lived this moment before, even though you're certain it's happening for the first time. Déjà vu isn't just a simple neurological glitch. It might be, as some researchers suggest, a predictive slippage in the brain's processing timing. The brain creates an anticipated model of the moment just before it happens. And when the moment actually occurs, it seems like you're remembering it because your mind simulated it seconds ago, no more. But this is enough to convince you it's an old memory, even though it's an instantaneous illusion. Reality fractures, and consciousness grows more mysterious. All this evidence, memory implantation, hypnosis, déjà vu, leads to one conclusion. What we see in our memory isn't always what happened, but what the mind constructed for some reason. We don't retrieve the past, we re-author it. And even more startling, we don't know who the real author is. Is it our brain or something far greater than ourselves? If memory is not stored, what does that mean? One theory could reshape our understanding of identity, consciousness, and time. Usually, when a new scientific theory emerges, the changes it imposes are gradual. But what if the theory affects something so fundamental, something that shapes everything we are? What if your memory is a reconstructed illusion? What if your past, your identity, your decisions are all nothing more than a repeated simulation, not a stored file? If this theory holds true, we're not just facing a scientific correction, but an existential revolution. 1. Memories aren't fixed, they're malleable and distorted. Every time you remember an event, you actually change it a little. You don't retrieve the moment as it happened, but you reconstruct it in light of your psychological state, your current environment, and your immediate emotions. This means that your past itself isn't absolute, but a mirror that shatters and is reassembled with every remembrance. What you thought was certainty could be a lie you unconsciously promoted to your memory for years. 2. Consciousness might not be material, but something deeper. This theory compels us to ask a terrifying question. If memories aren't stored in your brain cells, then where do they go? Here, science enters the shadows, where physics intersects with philosophy and a strange possibility emerges. Perhaps memory, and all of consciousness, is a non-material phenomenon existing in an external quantum field, like a cloud of information we don't see but receive. In other words, your brain doesn't create memory, it captures it from a wider field. Just as a radio doesn't create music, it receives it from the ether. 3. Lost memories aren't really lost. In light of this hypothesis, another dramatic shift looms. If memory isn't inside the neural cells, then even brain damage doesn't mean it's lost forever. Perhaps in the future, we'll find a way to reconnect with the cosmic field that carries these memories. Imagine this. Someone with amnesia regaining their past someday not through surgery but by resyncing with an external source, or being able to download our memories from the field of consciousness just as files are downloaded from the internet. What are your thoughts on these profound implications? Does this shift in understanding memory excite or unsettle you more? We don't remember, we create. This theory flips everything we know about the mind and identity upside down. We are no longer prisoners of the past, but its authors. We no longer remember what happened, but what we need to remember to continue our story. And we no longer search for consciousness in the brain, but perhaps outside it, in a cosmic field we immerse ourselves in, all while thinking we are alone.
Are we on the brink of a revolution in self-understanding? Is human memory the key to understanding a broader cosmic consciousness? And are we living right now, without knowing it, inside a repeated illusion which we believe to be our past, but is nothing more than a dream we tell ourselves every day? Are we living inside a story we fabricate, or within a grand simulation? If all our memories are reconstructed, not retrieved every time we recall them, the question is no longer just, is what I remember accurate? Instead, it becomes much deeper. Did what I think of as the past ever exist at all? Or does my mind simply draw the curtain on an empty stage and begin the show? We believe memory is a mirror, but what if it's a distorted lens, or even more, a deceptive lens that conjures a reality that never existed? And here, the forbidden question forcefully presents itself. Are we living in a simulation? Are we characters within a story being written in real time? Or is our brain, like a supercomputer, producing the past, present, and future, not as they are, but as they should be? Perhaps we don't have definitive answers yet, but what we know for sure is that this theory changes everything. It changes our understanding of identity. You are not who you were, but who you believe you were. It changes our understanding of time. The past is not preserved, it's re-authored. It even changes our understanding of consciousness. Perhaps we don't live inside our bodies, but inside a continuous mental narrative. Now, the floor is yours. What do you think? Are your memories real? Or are they a beautiful illusion your mind tells to convince you that you were? Are we guardians of a preserved past, or authors of a story that takes shape in every moment? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's open this existential discussion together. Perhaps we'll find the truth, or at least get closer to it.